What is up, guys, and welcome back to Late to the Party. This is where we take a look at movies that are at least 10 years old and look at them through the perspective of six really kick-ass individuals who each have their own definition of what awesome means. Last week, I was given the pleasure and the honor of picking this week's movie, and I left it up to you guys, and we chose 1988's AKIRA. Can't pronounce any of the names of the people that are in it, but the anime and the manga have both been referenced multiple times. They've been, looked at as a hype for anime. They've basically been referenced like crazy. It's been called one of the greatest animes ever made, and I'm just curious to get into it. I'm Jose.
I'm Isaac.
I'm Jason.
Nate the Great.
Liz.
And Josh.
Great Scots. All right, guys. 1988, AKIRA. Man, this was actually my first time watching it, believe it or not. So thank you guys for voting that in. I was really, really excited to see it. But I just want to jump right into it. And I want to start off with Nate. What's up, man?
What's going on?
So
what's the question?
The question is, what did you think?
Well,
what did you think? What did you think? And do you think, that does it still hold up today?
The anime holds up. It was great. I have a lot of problems with a lot of anime because they always bombard you with little Pikachu cutesy stuff, and then they make zero attempt at making the mouths go with what they're saying, and people say, oh, it's Japanese, and I'm like, I disagree. I heard people speak Japanese and their mouths don't just go. So I think it totally holds up, especially for somebody like me. As far as the anime goes, the story, I mean, you could tell it was pretty foreign, and I had to really dig in to figure out what was going on. I found the motivations of the characters to be very, very shallow. I didn't find any depth in any of the characters. It seemed like a bad soap opera when it was coming to the character depth. So, I mean, when I dug in, I understand what the story meant. And when I got through the story, I liked what they were trying to say, but I don't agree with the way they said it. The anime holds up, but they needed to do something different with the character development and the way they rolled the story out. Too many gaps for me to have to fill in with my head.
All right. I'm gonna create a Comic Cave Scott sandwich. So let me go. Lego.
Yeah, guys, this movie totally holds up. It's super good. I'm a sucker for that classic old school animation, everything drawn by hand. It's just, you can tell there's so much love that goes into every panel, and I couldn't imagine it being made today. Sorry, I couldn't imagine a live action version today or something like that. I think the love of all the art just goes too hard. It's a gorgeous movie, start to finish. And I really forgot what a wild ride it is, because once that movie starts, it's just 2 hours of straight intensity. You don't get a breath in at all. It was just I was at the end of it, I was like, whoa, I feel like I've been through something. So I don't know. It definitely holds up, and yeah, I loved it. Glad I got to watch it again.
All right, Scott.
Well, this is the first time I saw the movie. I had never seen it before. I've flipped through and read some of the comic books, so I was kind of familiar with it, but I liked it. I mean, the animation is so clean and crisp. I mean, even the little details of the dirt and the dust particles and things when it's breaking apart. I mean, everything was just so it was almost perfect. Just the animation. And the story to me, and the characters, they just seem kind of basic. It's kind of like just a classic story, you know what I mean? And so it's just, you've got friends, power corrupts the universe. I mean, there's all these like pieces in it. I think a lot of it was just like, I think the main focus was the animation. Could we do this? Sure, let's try it. Can we do this? Let's just do that. And then the story kind of like helped fill it in. I don't know. I would hope that they would never do a live action of this, because this is just, there's no need for it. I could see somebody trying to do a passion project or something like that and totally screwing it up because they're not going to cast it right, and they're never going to get the details with CG. You know, this is just perfect. Like it's a great story, and I think it does and can hold up, because one of the kids that we're staying with, he's 16?
Yeah.
And when I told him we were watching Akira, the rest of the family was just like, no. He's like, Akira? What? You're watching it? That's great. And, you know, he had seen it a couple of years ago, so he still loves it. He still liked it. And it's, you know, it was about 20 years before he was born. So, yeah. So as far as that goes, yeah, it holds up, because you have a couple generations later after the movie's out, he's still loving it. So that's proof right there.
I definitely think that the movie holds up. I haven't seen this movie probably in 25 years. I watched it a couple of times back around high school, and I had forgotten almost all of it. But it stunned me immediately, the quality of the animation. This kind of stuff being done in 1988 makes a lot of Disney films look like trash. It's really good. But I do agree with Nate, at least in the sense that, and I think this is something that's endemic to a lot of Japanese animation, a lot of manga movies, is that the storylines seem kind of disjointed. And the characters, I don't think, are shallow. I just think that because of the way that the story is told, it took a while for the depth of these characters to kind of manifest themselves. I think by the third act of the movie, I was fairly well invested in like what most of the characters were about and where they were going and what their motivations were. And so I think that they had depth by the time you get to the end of it. But this movie most certainly holds up over time. Watching it, I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of things that I had forgotten, and just, you know, constantly commenting like, damn, or like, whoa, or, you know, things like this. Even
We
now,
were like laughing.
even now, you're just like, this movie really stands the test of time.
All right, Isaac, what'd you think, fellow caveman?
Oh man, I love this movie. This is one of my favorite animes for sure. It was one of my first animes when I saw it at 13. I've seen it at 20, and now at 35, I've seen it again, and every time it's really good. Like you say, the animation is unbelievable. Those buildings, just the shot of the buildings is beautiful. The art, when it's a good movie. The whole tripping out scene when the bear's attacking him, and that scene right there is just like, whew, that's a good nightmare to make you go crazy. If you were to watch this movie on shrooms, I'm pretty sure you'd have a bad But for sure, this movie holds up. There has always been talk about them wanting to make it live action here in the States, and the people they always put behind this project and behind the name is not people you want touching this movie at all. And
Right.
I hope it never sees the light of day being touched in live action, because it will be a travesty like Dragon Ball Z. And that's all I got.
Woo! That's true. Oh man, I agree with. I wish I had a like button right here, because I like that comment. Yeah, personally watching it for the first time, man,
I can't believe this is the first time you've watched it.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned that a couple times. I said I've never watched Akira. Like, watching it and just thinking back, like how many references, like even Rick and Morty. This past season 4, they referenced it. Beyond, I can see that that's where they got a lot of their influence from. A lot of like just current modern stuff. it was so beautiful, and I had to keep reminding myself this was done in 1988, man. To talk about, to have social commentary, politics, religion, everything be thrown at you in an anime. It kind of took us a while here in the States to take animation to that level. So to see this and to keep reminding myself, man, I don't even know if I was born yet when it was the same year, but I don't know when it was. I failed to look up when it was, what month it was dropped. But I'm like, man, I'm just as old as this movie is, but dang, it's so good. It's just like me. It's aged like fine wine. So, so going back to that scene, Isaac, you were talking about. So, what was your favorite scene? And we'll go back now, Isaac. I know you were starting to touch on it. What do you think is the best scene in the movie?
Well, my favorite scene is that whole bear sequence where he's going crazy and he's tripping out and all that, just everything's being thrown at him and he's like trying to figure out what's going on. And then when he finally stabs himself and he starts bleeding, like the kids finally show their face and they're like, blood, blood. I remember that so vividly. Like, I remember I did stab my foot once after I'd seen this movie and I thought the same thing. And I was just like, how cool would it be if there was a bear coming around and going crazy. But yeah, that's my favorite scene for sure.
Okay. All right. Scott's, what was your favorite scene? What was the best scene in the movie?
Toward the end sequence when Tetsuo is bringing up the chamber in which Akira has been encased, when it's being like brought up out of the ground and there's all this like rubble and steam and you have the hoses of the coolant like fizzing around and it looks like these giant tentacles of some monster coming up out of the ground. Just the animation, the detail that's going on in there, it looks so good. And I when I watched that scene again, I remembered the awe that I had back around 1990 when it was probably like the last time that I saw this film, and that same like sensation came back. I was like, wow, I had forgotten just how good this movie looks. But certainly that scene when he's doing all of that and then the result of it, that he discovers what has happened to Akira, it's an incredible scene. There's a lot going on there.
Well, the two good scenes have been taken, so I'm going to go a different track. And that is the scene where they get arrested. The group, the gang is sitting in there and they're getting arrested. And it's just, they're just teenagers. They're just teenagers who just got caught up in something and they're arrested and they just don't give two craps about what's going on around them other than where's their friend, where they took them, it was kind of like, it was just kind of basic, but at the same time, that I think the funny part is that whole scene where you see him, the police officer, looking at their cards and he looks up at him. It's got that same stupid look on his face as he does in his mugshot and stuff. All the way up until when the explosion happens in the building, outside the building. There's like that 10, 15 minute, because, the guy has the grenade doesn't work, and they're still looking at it. He's having this whole conversation. You kind of like
beat up by the cops.
And you see him getting beat up in the cops, like little things like that, like around it. But then later on, they have this huge conversation. You're trying to figure out who this girl is. And in the background, you see the explosion finally happen. And I just thought it was kind of one of those dark, humorous situations. But yeah, but it was kind of good because it showed the group of the gangs. They really are just a bunch of kids, teenage kids that have had no real direction in their life, and they're just kind of doing whatever. And it was kind of a levity situation. It was like, it had that moment of, oh crap, something bad's gonna happen because they're just having too much fun right now.
All right, Lego, your favorite scene, sir. What was the best scene of this movie?
Wow, the whole movie, man. Okay, favorite scene. It's got to be that motorcycle chase at the very beginning. It's so pretty, man. Like the way the taillights are like trailing behind the cycles, and just the design of the city, and you see like the riot and the police and the army, and it just drops you into this world in such a like real way, and it just feels like it feels something. And the city feels alive, and it's a wild scene. And I really like that. That's kind of like the first real look of Neo Tokyo that you get. It's this sweeping, like, just awesomeness. So I don't know. I think that's probably my favorite scene. It really got me hyped for the rest of the movie.
Mr. Nate the Great.
All
What
right,
was
we're
your
gonna have to
favorite
go on a
scene?
walk. I'm gonna have to hold hands with you guys and take you on a walk. So Tetsuo and Kaneda are best pals. Kaneda goes through all this trouble to go try to save Tetsuo, and every time they get around each other, they're like dicks to each other. So it's like, are you guys best pals or not? And my favorite scene is when they finally realize that they are friends at the end, when he's getting all globule-like and absorbing the girl and absorbing Kaneda, and it just kind of was a resolution for me on one of the points that I didn't like, which was the shallowness of the characters. Like, are you guys best pals? Because if every time, unless they're just ribbing each other, I mean, maybe they're ribbing each other and they do it different in Japan or something, but, you know, like, I don't know, because it's like, oh, we gotta go fight him, we gotta go save him, and they go and save him, and the second he sees him, fuck you, you think you're better than me, you're not my father, you're not my big brother, man. I have power now, and I'm gonna kill you. And it's just like, well, how about thanks for saving me, motherfucker? So I just liked at the end, it was finally like, all right, they're over the bullshit. I guess this is a good guy. So I mean, that's what it did for me.
Here you go,
Gotcha.
Nate.
I get the big red fist for that one.
Well, dang, it makes me wish I wouldn't have been so polite and I would have gone first, because you took all the scenes that I had written down as my favorite scene. So, but I'm gonna piggyback off of Nate, and I think it was just the little memory, the stroll down memory lane when we look at the other psychic kids or whatever they're called. I'm not sure how you refer to them, but more importantly, seeing their relationship. And I think it's because it reminded me of a conversation we had a while ago in regards to how people come into your life, and there's this web, how we're all connected. And I remember that conversation, watching that scene, how, you know, they came into each other's lives and they didn't realize the importance that they would play in each other's lives. And then fast forward, the only reason why he got into that bike accident, was because Kineda told him, let's go chase after these dudes. So it was almost like, you think about it, it was his fault. The reason, well, it would, you know, quote unquote fault, that whole thing happened. It was because they went and he said, let's go after them. And so they all followed his lead because he was the leader. And if he hadn't, if he would have just stayed at the bar, chances are this whole string of events would have never happened. So it just kind of, for me, that scene brought everything full circle. It's like they played the biggest role in each other's lives, and yeah, man, it was like, for me, that was beautiful, because I mean, I guess because I was, you know, relating it to a real life conversation that we've had, but that to me was like probably my favorite and probably the best scene of that movie, because it's kind of like Nate said, it ties everything up. So now the opposite. I know it's a little difficult because we love the animation and we love how, you know, a lot of pieces of this story, but what is the worst scene in your opinion? So Nate, do us the honor. What was the worst scene?
The worst scene was the green guy running away at the very beginning. You take so long in the movie to find out why he's running, what he's running from, who he is, and is that what got Tetsuo powers, because he crashed into the green kid with his motorcycle? Like, there was just like so many leaps at the beginning. Now they did a good job with the anime. I mean, all of the cool buildings and explosions and robots kept my like synapses firing to follow it. But I'm still, you know, the story, man. The story was just like, there's just so many gaps that I had to fill with my. It would be the kind, like, they should have had Raymond Burr narrating it or something, because it would have helped me a little bit more to follow it. I agree with it. It's beautiful. The anime is beautiful. Every scene is beautiful, but just like the gaps, you know, I had to, like, after I watched, I had to sit there for like 10 minutes and think, oh, okay, oh, this happened. Oh, it's maybe it's designed to watch over and over again, and you got to fill in the gaps. But I just wanted my gaps to be filled the entire time, you know. And the visuals kept me sitting there, but it was why is he running? Who's he running for? Like, what? The motorcycle hits him, he doesn't die, but the guy who hits him gets powers? What? Why? I still don't know why. I don't know.
All right. All right. Let's do a cave sandwich again. Lego, your opinion, sir.
Ooh,
What was the worst scene?
worst scene, man. This is a hard one. I really think maybe it's not the worst scene, but it certainly could have been cut from the movie. But it's the scene where the capitalist greedy guy, you know, businessman is like running, got heart problems, and he's like trying to get all his deeds and money, and he's trying to go down the street, right? And we find out then that the rebels, the people who are rioting, the anti-movement, are being run by the same people that are running the army. So it's like, oh man, like, look, it's all the money. But when the rioter guy, the spy, goes in and he gets shot, and then he comes out into that alleyway, we realize that he has the same powers as AKIRA, or maybe not the same powers, but it's obvious that something's been awoken in him, similar to Tetsuo. So he does have power, and I do think, like, you know, he moves the papers around and he stops the guy's heart. So I think it's kind of cool that we like get to see that, like, it's not just Tetsuo who's like affected. It's like everyone can be affected if they're like pushed in that way. But I do think, like, as far as the main storyline goes, it's kind of like it's way off. It doesn't really change the overall story, and it's kind of like a weird diversion, I think.
Scott's, yeah.
Well,
What did you guys think?
Lego picked up on, like, don't say it. Damn it, he said it. It was that whole scene too, but it was because it didn't fit. It didn't seem to fit. But the other scene is that whole one where the council meeting is together. It's like, well, to me, we didn't really need to know why the civil unrest was happening. It was just that you had, you know, they kind of explained it a little bit with the newscast kind of things, how they were doing it, saying that the civil unrest was because of, you know, there's a hippy dippy group for this great awakening of AKIRA type thing, and then you know, the happy clappy guys, and then you got like the young youth that are just disenfranchised with the whole thing that's going on, and then you've got the military group, and it's like, okay, well, that's unfortunately seems to be like, that's a classic trope in all of these types of, like, a lot of movies like that. I don't need to know the details and the inner workings and who doesn't like who. It's just like, there's just civil unrest, there's the military, there's this, and then I don't need to know, like, who everybody is or why everybody's doing it. It reminds me of the Phantom Menace. Like, I don't need all the political stuff behind it. I just need to know people are pissed and why they're pissed, and let's just like figure it out from there, kind of thing. So that whole like table setting situation, and then that scene with the guy packing up because the military leaders are coming after him and stuff, that didn't need to be there.
For me, there are two scenes in the movie, and I think the problem is what I was talking about before is that manga animated movies like this always feel very disjointed, and there's pieces in there that always don't seem like they belong. The first one that strikes me as being a bad scene is after Kaneda's first encounter with Tetsuo, where his laser cannon ceases firing. And then he gets together with one of his biker buddies and then this girl that he's after, and they recharge the battery on it with his buddy's motorcycle. And in the process, his buddy's motorcycle like catches fire, and then they have like this like pointless fight. And then Kaneda's like, "Oh, look, your bike's on fire again." The guy's like, "Oh no!" And he's like trying to put it out, and Kaneda's like laughing and kicking his feet. And I'm like, "What is this? This feels like a kid's cartoon right here." The whole movie is like dark and gritty and full of all these like different motivations that are going on. And then you have like this weird scene that feels like some sort of like kids cartoon. It was really, it took me out of the movie. And then the other thing that I didn't care for was the very ending of the film is kind of this mysterious, extra dimensional, unresolved like conclusion to it. There's like no, and again, I think this is just because I'm an American. I want I want a beginning, a middle, and an end to my story. I like it to be linear. I want the ending to like explain things like in detail, and there's resolution where you see what happens. I like the way the Endgame resolves itself, where after they defeat Thanos, then you kind of see where everybody disperses to. Like, where does everybody end up? How does life end? You have funerals and you have Cap dancing, and like there's all these things going on. But like in this one, it's just like done, and then you're like, huh? I had to like look up online and read like, what does this even mean? What's going on here? So I didn't care for either of those two scenes for different reasons.
The scene I didn't care for was the whole biker gang messing with Tetsuo's chick and straight cutting her shirt open, and that wasn't needed in the movie. That was the one that I didn't care for.
I think that was over the top.
Yes.
But I think it fits with the dark tone of it, that everything is like real chaotic.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I didn't care for the graphic brutality in that scene. There was a lot of brutality in the rest of the movie, but that particular scene, I was kind of like, oh. Ugh.
It wasn't needed. I felt it wasn't needed. It could have been left out of the movie.
Or maybe just done differently. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Let him talk.
Sorry.
It's all right.
No,
It's done.
No, yeah, that I think you guys hit again. Being polite and letting you guys all go first kind of sucks.
See, it's not easy to run the show.
Yeah, no, it's because it everybody takes up. But I just love building on top of what you guys say already. Kind of like what Isaac said. I didn't like the way that scene was done. Kind of like what Liz said. I liked at the beginning. It almost reminded me like the Dark Knight Returns, how they were using the newscast to tell the story as to what was happening. And I thought that's how we were going to get a lot of these updates, because it happened a couple times throughout the movie where they did like news flash updates, and I was like, oh, that's fucking clever. Damn. I'll put it in later. I was like, oh, that's really clever. And then again at the end where I was like, wait, what? What? Is he in another dimension, or what's going on? And I think that's where I was like, I hope I'm not the only one that's kind of lost with this ending. And maybe not lost, but I think what they were trying to do was, get you to interpret it your own, your however you see it. But I was like, I think he went interstellar on us.
Interstellar went AKIRA.
There, oh yeah, or Interstellar
That's
went
right.
AKIRA. There you
That's
go.
right.
One came before the other. Now, thank you for bringing that point up, because, like I said, I was trying to tiptoe around it because I didn't want to feel like I was the only one that saw that. But thank you. If I could hug you, I would.
I'll do it for you.
But the all-important buckets, guys. So I want to start with the creator of the Buckets of Popcorn system, O-Meter, Nate. Let's go, baby. Buckets of popcorn.
This is a complicated one for me because I want to do 10 for visuals and 4 for story. So I'm going to add them together and divide them by 2, and we'll do the 7. Yeah, the story.
All right.
The story was a hard 4 for me.
Good. I'm glad you looked at a separate criteria. All right. Cavemen, Lego. Let's go. Buckets of pockets, sir.
Boom, you know this is a 10 out of 10, baby. Yeah, that's the one right there. 10. Shocking, I know. Who would have thought I loved this movie? I don't do a lot of rewatches. I've rewatched Akira a lot, and every time I catch something new, like today when the kids are in their little castle, I saw like they do a really like hard pan on a depiction of Sleeping Beauty, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, boom! Look at that shit right there. Yes, that is right on the money, and I'll pay for that one. I'm happy to pay for that curse. But that was so cool, and it's just like that whole movie. It's just so rich with detail, and I feel like the storytelling is all told visually, and I really like it. It's a fleshed out world, and it's cool. And like I didn't get the ending. I think the first probably few times I watched the movie, but realizing that it's like a singularity and like time doesn't operate in the same way, like when it gets compacted and then, you know, like turning into the eye, and like, I don't know, I've got questions, but I've got answers. And now seeing it for the 7th time, I think I might kind of have a tiny grasp on what they're getting at. So 10 out of 10 for me. Boom.
All right, Isaac. Buckets of popcorn.
I'm going to give it a 9 buckets of popcorn. I love this movie. I enjoy it. I don't give 10s out as much as Lego either. I don't know why. I should. But yeah, a 9.
All right.
I do this movie each time I watch it.
For sure. Great Scots. Where are you at?
I'm at a 7 with Nate. Just yeah, I mean it was a great visually, it was great, it was beautiful. Just the story was, for me, putting that much detail into the animation, but leaving a little bit of the story a little lackluster, kind of like, you know what I mean? It didn't balance out quite. I would think that if they're putting that much detail into the animation, they would put a little bit more into the story. So, but I'm still going to give it a 7.
I'm going to split the difference between Nate and Isaac, not counting Lego. Because I love Lego, but damn it, every movie's a 10. So I'm gonna go with an 8. My instinct would be to make it lower because of the way that the story is told, but I think, you know, having reflected on it during our conversation here, when you think about you know, the fact that it comes from an Eastern culture, and the fact that it seems to be somewhat prophetic for our day, I think that'll bring the score up a little bit. So I'm going to give it an 8. It's a solid film. It's definitely one worth watching many times, and you know, trying to figure out for yourself what the heck is going on. So, but yeah, definitely a good movie.
Well, I remember when Josh said that a 10 is reserved for something that is epic, that influences throughout the ages, and it just, and when I think of now everything that we have around us, you know, like I said, Batman Beyond. When did Blade Runner come out? Was that before or after?
Before.
Probably right
Before.
around, yeah.
Before.
It takes place during the same time period, though, 2019.
Okay, all right, yeah. So,
Yeah.
looking at so many references from a lot of great movies back to Akira. Now that I know what they were referring to. You know, one of the hit TV shows now is Stranger Things, and that sounds like an awful lot like the what was going on at the beginning with an escaped subject. I think I'm going to steal Josh's scale and say I think Akira is an epic movie. It has its faults, but I'm going to go with my brother Lego on this one and give it a solid 10 out of 10.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Finally,
It's just
on this channel.
it's just everything that I feel like it helped create. We don't get a lot of those things without Akira, so I have to give it its love and respect. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for the honor. I am glad that you semi-enjoyed it. I'm glad that we got to go down these rabbit holes and have this discussion. I don't know, man. Who's ready to give a list of movies to watch?
Oh,
I like Lego. Lego's got a face of, you know what? I got a list of movies. So, Lego, buddy, take it away.
All right. So you guys kind of inspired me with the whole genre, you know. We got two. So we can either take a rocket ship out to space, get some space all up in your face, or we could do Adventure Man. Let's take a time travel back to the early days of film. So,
is it time travel or is
No,
it during
early
film?
days.
it's old timey.
Benjamin film.
God.
That's one of those old-timey guys, hey?
Old timey.
Old-timey movies.
Black
Well,
and white. See?
Since I'm an old timer, I'm going to go with the old timey.
All right.
The Hottie Boys? Yeah, I'm in for the Hottie Boys. Yeah.
All
It's
right.
nasty. Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for Grandpa Josh and his taste in movies, hey? So I'll go with the old-timers.
Oh. Girl, you get to gray. Yeah, I'll do old timey. I'm
All
good.
right.
Count
All
me
right.
intrigued. I want to see what Adventure Man has next.
Rising.
This year on Around the World, we can choose between Citizen Kane, Psycho, or Metropolis.
Oh, jeez. Darn you, Lego.
I'm gonna have to go to Metropolis for this one. That's me.
Wow, somebody's streaming Metropolis?
They are.
Who?
Man, see? Man.
Right.
Daily Motion.
I want to do Metropolis.
All right.
Extra. Looks like Metropolis is heading down.
I'm gonna pull the Norman Bates and go for Psycho.
Oh, somebody loves his mother.
I'm going to make it difficult.
Right.
I'm going
That's
for
a docudrama.
Citizen Kane. So we got 2, 1, and 1.
Yeah, you're throwing away your vote.
Yeah.
I'm gonna man, Nate, you're like the people that voted for D's Nuts in 2016. I will go because I've never heard of Metropolis and you've piqued my curiosity, so I will go with Metropolis.
All right. Metropolis it is.
And where can I see this fine movie?
So I'll send y'all a link. But it has been recently restored. And I believe Leonardo DiCaprio had something to do with that. I've never seen the movie myself, but
Oh, it's so good.
I've heard it changes the game. I heard it
It's
sets
good.
everything up. So I wanted to
Especially
check
with
it.
the modern soundtrack.
Ooh,
They actually have a modern soundtrack for it. There's 2 different versions. One has a modern soundtrack like rock and roll and it's really good.
I want to see them dancing to Charleston down at the soda fountain, see?
Get me one of them 5-cent colas.
Nice. All right. Well, Metropolis it is. Thank you guys. That's the one I was secretly hoping for.
Yay.
Well,
All right.
are you gonna sign off late to the party, Jose, or
I sure am. Well, thank you guys. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. It was a lot of work. Nate, I respect you and love you more now for what you do, baby. But signing off to the party, I'm Jose.
I'm Isaac.
I'm Jason.
Nate the Great.
Liz?
And Josh.
All right. See you next time.
I'm just gonna have to say
On late to the party, say.
All
Man.
right. Man, you see, I'm gonna have the Metropolis. Huh?